All right, so we're diving deep into regenerative agriculture today.
Sounds good.
And we're really going beyond just, the buzzwords and the trends.
Right.
And looking at the actual science behind these practices.
Yeah.
And we're going to be focusing on chapters 2.1 through 2.3 of our source material, Introduction to Regenerative Agriculture.
Okay, great.
And so that'll cover soil health and ecosystems, biodiversity, and water management techniques.
Awesome.
So, one thing that really jumped out at me when I was looking at the source material was just how central soil health is to this whole approach.
Absolutely.
It's like regenerative agriculture hinges on this one element.
It really does, yeah.
So can you kind of explain, what makes soil health so important?
Sure, yeah. Most people think of soil as just like dirt under our feet.
Right.
Kind of inert and lifeless.
Yeah.
But healthy soil is actually teeming with life.
Oh, wow.
Billions of organisms, bacteria, fungi, insects, all interacting in this incredible web of life.
Like a whole ecosystem under our feet.
Exactly. And that biodiversity, that's the key.
Oh, interesting.
That's what makes the soil healthy and productive.
So it's not just about, the chemical composition of the soil. It's about the life within it.
Exactly. It's about the whole ecosystem.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But conventional farming practices, I'm guessing they haven't been so kind to this whole ecosystem, right?
Yeah, unfortunately not. Practices like tilling, heavy use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, monocultures, planting the same crop over and over, all of those things have really depleted the soil. They've disrupted that delicate balance and, ultimately led to a whole host of problems.
So how does regenerative agriculture address this?
Well, one of the key goals is to build up soil organic matter.
Okay.
That's really like the foundation of a healthy soil ecosystem. It provides nutrients, structure, all sorts of benefits.
Can you break that down a bit more for me?
Sure.
What exactly is soil organic matter?
So soil organic matter is essentially decomposed plant and animal material.
Okay.
So think fallen leaves, crop residues, even the microorganisms themselves once they die.
Got it.
And regenerative practices, things like minimizing soil disturbance, keeping the soil covered with plants, and incorporating diverse crop rotations all contribute to building up that organic matter.
So instead of leaving the soil bare after harvest, you might plant what they call cover crops.
Exactly. Those cover crops help protect and nourish the soil.
Okay.
They provide that constant source of food and shelter for all those microorganisms.
I see.
And this brings us to a really fascinating point. Healthy soil, rich in organic matter, is a powerful carbon sink.
I've heard that term before, carbon sink.
Yeah.
But can you explain what that means in this context?
Sure. It means that the soil can actually pull carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
Wow.
And store it as organic matter. So it's like a natural climate solution built right into the ground.
That's incredible. So regenerative agriculture is not just about healthy food. It's about tackling climate change, too.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
It's a win-win, really.
Wow.
By restoring the health of our soils, we can improve the resilience of our farms, help mitigate climate change, contribute to a healthier planet.
This is all starting to make so much sense.
So good.
So we've covered soil health, and I know biodiversity is another big piece of the puzzle.
It is.
What can you tell me about that?
So Chapter 2.2 of our source material really dives into biodiversity.
Okay.
And it emphasizes that diversity, both above and below ground, is key to a healthy and resilient ecosystem.
So it's not just about having healthy soil. It's about making sure there's a variety of life within it.
Exactly. Yeah. Think of it like this.
Okay.
A monoculture, a field of just corn, for instance, that's like having only one ingredient in your diet. It might keep you alive, but it's not going to be very healthy in the long run, right?
Makes sense. So how does regenerative agriculture promote that diversity then?
Well, one key practice is crop rotation.
Okay.
So instead of planting the same crop year after year, farmers will rotate different crops. And that helps disrupt pest cycles, reduces disease pressure, and improves soil fertility.
So it's like mixing up your workout routine.
Exactly.
To work different muscle groups and prevent, overuse injuries or something.
I like that analogy, yeah. It's about keeping the soil and the ecosystem in balance.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, another thing I was curious about was the role of livestock in all of this.
Right.
Because it seems like regenerative agriculture is about more than just crops.
Yeah.
How do animals fit into the equation?
Well, grazing animals, when managed properly, can play a crucial role in stimulating plant growth, cycling nutrients, even breaking up compacted soil. It's all about, mimicking the natural grazing patterns of herbivores,
Right.
but in a way that benefits both the animals and the land.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does a farmer decide like which plants and animals to incorporate?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's very context specific.
Okay.
It depends on the climate, the soil type, the farm's goals,
Right.
a whole host of factors.
Yeah.
But the underlying principle is to work with nature's inherent diversity, not against it,
I see. So working with the land rather than trying to impose something on it.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've talked about soil health, we've talked about biodiversity.
Right.
But there's another vital element we need to consider.
Yeah.
Water.
Water.
How does regenerative agriculture approach water management?
Yeah, that's a crucial aspect, and that's covered in subchapter 2.3 of the source material.
Okay.
In conventional agriculture, water is often treated as something to be controlled,
Okay.
through irrigation systems,
Right.
drainage ditches, and so on.
Like forcing it into submission.
Right, exactly. But in a regenerative system, the goal is to enhance the water cycle,
Okay.
how water moves through the ecosystem.
So it's more about working with natural patterns
Exactly.
rather than trying to control them.
Yeah, exactly. It's about recognizing that water is a precious resource and that we need to manage it carefully.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about soil organic matter acting like a sponge?
Yes.
Well, that's really important for water management, too. Healthy soil can absorb and hold much more water than degraded soil,
Oh, wow.
which reduces runoff and erosion.
So it's like creating a giant water reservoir right there on the farm.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing how it all works together.
Are there any other techniques used to manage water in a regenerative system?
Oh, there are a number of them, yeah.
Well-
But one prominent example is using cover crops.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about them earlier?
Yeah.
Besides adding organic matter, cover crops can also slow down water runoff,
Oh, interesting.
allowing it to infiltrate the soil and recharge groundwater.
So those cover crops are like multitaskers.
Yeah, they really are. They're doing a lot of good work for the soil and for water management.
That's great. Now, another thing I came across was something called keyline design.
Oh, yeah, keyline design.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating technique.
Can you tell me more about that?
So keyline design is a whole system of earthworks
Okay.
and land shaping designed to capture and distribute water more effectively.
Oh, wow.
So it can involve things like building swales, which are shallow ditches
Okay.
that follow the contours of the land, and they help slow down and spread out water.
Oh, I see.
It can also involve strategically planting trees and shrubs,
Okay.
to help stabilize slopes and prevent erosion.
It's all about working with the natural topography of the land.
Exactly, yeah.
It seems like that's a recurring theme in regenerative agriculture.
It is, yeah.
It's about working with natural systems rather than trying to control them.
Absolutely.
Like shifting from a mindset of domination to a mindset of collaboration.
That's a great way to put it.
Working with nature, not against it.
Yeah, I like that.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I'm finally starting to understand the science behind all of this.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not just about growing food, it's about restoring this whole ecosystem.
Right, exactly.
It really is amazing how everything's connected.
It is.
Like from the tiniest microbes in the soil,
yeah.
all the way up to the water cycles, the climate.
It's the whole systems approach, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes regenerative agriculture so compelling. It's not about addressing just one problem.
Right.
It's about creating a more resilient system.
Yeah.
A more balanced system.
And ultimately that benefits everyone.
Absolutely.
The farmers, the
Yeah.
consumers, the planet.
The whole shebang.
But I'm guessing there are challenges too, right?
Oh, for sure.
To implementing these practices, I mean, on a larger scale.
Yeah, definitely.
Like what are some of those hurdles that regenerative agriculture faces?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is, a shift in mindset.
Okay.
Moving away from that conventional industrial model
Yeah.
towards a more ecological approach.
Right. So it's not just about changing practices. It's about changing like how we think about farming.
Yeah, exactly. It requires a deeper understanding, of those natural systems and, being willing to work with them rather than trying to control them.
I see.
Which can be hard,
Yeah.
for people who've been doing things a certain way for a long time.
Right. And I imagine there are also like practical challenges too.
Oh, yeah.
Like access to resources, training support.
Yeah. A lot of farmers are interested in transitioning,
Right.
but they just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Or they might face, financial constraints
Mhm.
or lack of market access for their products.
So there's a need for more like education, infrastructure,
Definitely.
policy changes.
Absolutely. And, there is a growing movement, thankfully,
Oh, that's good.
advocating for policies that support these practices.
Hmm.
So there is hope.
Because it really does seem like, the potential benefits
They're huge.
are enormous
Yeah.
for everyone,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive,
Okay.
what's like one key takeaway you'd like our listener to remember?
I think the biggest takeaway is that, regenerative agriculture, it's
Yeah.
about more than just growing food.
Right.
It's about restoring the health of our planet,
Hmm.
one farm at a time.
It's a powerful message.
Yeah.
And I think it's a reminder that,
Yeah.
we're all part of this interconnected web of life.
We are.
And our actions have a ripple effect.
Exactly.
So the next time you're at the grocery store or, the farmer's market,
Yeah.
take a moment to think about where your food comes from and the impact it's having.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have the power to make a difference.
We do.
Well, thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive
My pleasure.
into the science behind regenerative agriculture.
It was fun.
It's really, really fascinating. So to all our listeners out there,
Yes.
keep learning,
Keep exploring.
keep digging deeper.
And until next time.